Now we have a report, and the question is, what are we going to do about that report? Are we going to actually make sure it doesn't happen again?
But could the administration have done something independent of what the Inspector General was doing, is my question.
No, we have a cardinal rule in these situations, as any administration or White House would have, which is you don't interfere in an independent investigation, and you don't do anything that would give the appearance of interfering in an independent investigation. So we took the exact right, appropriate steps here.
You talk about a GOP.
That was White House senior advisor Dan Pfeiffer yesterday on Meet the Press. It turns out the White House's chief lawyer learned weeks ago that an audit of the Internal Revenue Service likely would show that agency employees inappropriately targeted conservative groups. Should he have notified the president? Good morning. Welcome to the News Hub. I'm Rolf Winkler. Peter Nicholas joins us from Washington to tell us the latest wrinkle in the controversy. Peter, good morning.
Hi, Rolf. Nice to be with you.
So, who knew what and when is the key question everyone's trying to answer. Is this the highest up that this information about the IRS went? The earliest the White House found out about it?
Well, yes, from the information that we have, this is the most detail that the White House had. We know now that in the third week in April, the White House counsel, Kathy Roemmler, was given a heads up from the Treasury Department that this investigation was nearing completion and that it was going to conclude that IRS employees were indeed targeting Tea Party groups with the word patriot in their name. So one question is what to do with this information. That's what Dan Pfeiffer was discussing earlier in your soundbite. And there are people who say the president should have been told immediately that this is a serious matter. This involves misuse of power by the IRS. Shouldn't the head of the executive branch, the president, be told about this? Shouldn't he have a chance to correct this and fix this? But instead of learning about it in the newspapers with the average citizen. So that's the question. The White House says that if the president had been given a heads up, it would have raised suspicions that there was some interference with the investigation. So the White House counsel's office and senior staff decided that it'd be best to be most prudent thing to do would be not to do anything with the information, not to share it with him.
Okay, because like you said, the risk then would be interference, and they're claiming that the worst thing that could have happened, the conversation today would then be, instead of why wasn't somebody told, why did the White House potentially interfere with the investigation?
Exactly.
Is that their argument?
Yeah, and so then the scandal that the Republicans would be looking into on Capitol Hill now would be, well, the president got a heads up. What did he do with that information? Did he try to doctor the report? Did he try to do anything to change the conclusions in the report? That would be what the conversation would be now. But there also is an argument that the president, there's some criticism that the president has been too much of a bystander, that he's been on the sidelines learning about different controversies in his administration, including matters involving the Justice Department's seizure of AP phone records. He's been learning about that in the news rather than being told about that in the normal course of business. Mm-hmm. So there's two sides on this argument, yeah.
Okay, I also want to know, a bigger concern maybe is that maybe this isn't the first time the White House found out about it. Is there? Yeah. I would imagine House Republicans are trying to determine whether or not somebody knew about this before the election and didn't disclose it. What's the status of those investigations?
Well, I think that's what we're going to be hearing about a lot this summer, Rolf. The Republicans are holding hearings on this on Wednesday. They're going to be bringing more IRS witnesses to testify about what they knew and who they might have told. I think it'd be a fair guess that Republicans are going to be asking to subpoena email traffic between Treasury Department, White House, IRS. They want to look at that. So that's the question they're going to be trying to determine is, did the White House know in the election year where this investigation was going, what investigators were finding out? Could this information have been politicized or used to political advantage? Okay. So that's the question that investigators will be find front and center.
Okay. Peter Nicholas in Washington, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.